Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup from both myself, Dennis, and our co-organizer, Rich Schwerin. We're happy to have you here. We're going to be talking on A AI search. We've had some talks about AI search. We've had some talks about AI video. And now Dane Frederiksen is going to bring those two worlds together on how video is your secret weapon for AI search. Dane will cover why AI search changes the math on video ROI, how pre-purposing lets you plan one short shoot to fuel multiple formats and channels, how video shortens your sales cycle and builds trust when buyers don't trust anything. So true. How to use AI for processing and distribution, not for generating low-value slop, and the exact first or next step to take, no matter where you're starting. Dane, thanks for joining, and take it away.
Thank you, Dennis. And thanks everybody for having me. Is this screen full screen for you guys?
Yes.
Can you see the presentation? Okay, cool. It's different on my end. Okay, so I'm going to go through this deck, but if you guys have questions, feel free to add them in the chat, or you can even stop me, especially if you're confused or you want to call BS. Just let me know and we can stop. So, and then we'll make some time at the end to talk and answer questions. So. Yeah, so we are talking video about AI search specifically, but I'm going to touch on a couple other things. That's just a nice starting point because it is really hot right now, and everybody's really seeing the value of like, oh my God, how am I going to show up there? And I don't think anybody really can answer that definitively, but video is a part of it. So basically, now that search has changed, we've got a new game in town. We had SEO. And now we have GEO, or you could call it AEO or AIO, or there's a new one I heard is a EIO, which I think stands for Everyone is Enabling Information Overload, AKA slop. So that's not good. More isn't better. We all learned that the hard way. And so now helpful is better. And, I think this obviously has a lot to do with trust. And it has a lot to do with the buyer journey because right now, buyers are researching more and more before they talk to salespeople. The buying process is happening without us. And so, video is a way to give them the material to self-educate along the way. So, just a little bit of data. I don't want to have to read all this, but just the orange call outs are, 80% of the journey is self-directed now. 95% of the time, the winning vendor is already on the short list. And 94% of the time, B2B buyers now use LLMs, which is, not shocking to anyone here. So how are we going to deal with all that? So basically now content is the buyer journey. Another way to say that is that content is now the sales process. And, it always was, but more so. So the idea here is that you can actually fuel those conversations, however they're happening. Even like in PR or in Reddit, those people that are having conversations about you, they have to learn about this stuff somewhere. And that's the opportunity for us, is to use video to educate the people that do more educating. So let's just look at a couple ways that video actually can solve business problems. So generally, I always talk about, if you wanted to put it simply, it boosts visibility, it accelerates trust, and it helps you stand out. And, if you want to get into the actual use cases, we're talking about showing, comparing and contrasting, showing gaps, thought leadership style content. And even more specifically, this is just a laundry list of potential ways that you can create video content for whatever your business problem is. And surprisingly, or unsurprisingly maybe, each video actually is doing 5 different jobs most of the time, which are, it's educating, it's actually helping you to rank, it's training the future LLMs, it's building trust, and if you're doing it right, you're repurposing that content as well. So it's easy to think of video as one thing, but it's actually a lot of things. So the problem is, when you ask people why don't they do more with video, they still kind of think video is hard and expensive, which it certainly can be, but it doesn't have to be. You can actually save time, and it can be easy, and it can be low cost. And I know this because I'm doing it for myself and it's working. So you want to know how. You don't have to use a gun to find out. So, with a plan. So with no plan, this is kind of what you're looking at, which some of you may be experiencing this right now. Maybe you're stuck. Maybe you're thinking it's too hard, or you're having some inefficiencies or unsustainability. I hear these all the time. In fact, 99% of the time in some way. So with a plan, what you're looking at is something that's effective, efficient, and sustainable. And so what does a good plan cover? Basically these things. And the way I always simplify this is like, we're just answering questions. We need answers to all the questions that we need to go out and make video content that's going to actually work for us, be sustainable, efficient, all those things. And you don't need to necessarily have all the answers to all these things to get started. These are just the types of things that are going to come up. So another couple insights about video is, we touched on it. It's ideal for pre-purposing, meaning repurposing by design. So because video has the images, it has audio and text in the form of transcripts, that's basically all the media types right there. That's the fodder for something that can be like a content machine. And when done correctly, you can use AI to enable this process without cranking out slop. And what I think that usually looks like is using AI in the beginning for planning, research, organization, those sort of things. And then with editing and transcripts and captions and things like that on the end of things. But when we're talking about in the marketplace, when trust is important, having live action people on camera is a really good idea because it builds trust. It builds like human connection. Now, I think we're not quite at the place where AI can fake that reliably, consistently. I mean, we can all get tricked a little bit, but I think over time we can tell. And I think a lot of times you're not going to want to use AI that way. And I just talk about like when trust is involved, you don't want to put a fake representation of yourself out there generally. There may be use cases, but for the most part, I recommend against it. So let's look at some examples of what an effective video plan could look like. So one of my clients, Twitch, when they were first starting out, they had a big problem because nobody knew what the heck Twitch was. And I suspect most of you know what that is, but it's basically people watching other people play video games. That's how it started. So when they were trying to sell brand sponsorships, they had to kind of educate these brands. Like, what does a brand sponsorship look like on Twitch? So they would run these campaigns, and then we put together a pipeline for these sizzle videos that would basically show them how the stream went, how it performed. And we cranked out hundreds of these things over many years. And that contributed to, hundreds of millions of dollars in sponsorship revenue over 10 years. Another client of mine, Tube Mogul, they got bought by Adobe. They needed a variety of video content very fast, but they had no in-house capability. So working with them, I actually put together an outsourced video team in their actual office. So we had that connective tissue of being like in-house, but it was actually, they didn't have to go through the process of hiring and getting cameras and all that kind of stuff. And over like 3 years, we made dozens of videos without them ever needing to hire. And, I think part of our success is they got bought by Adobe. So, and then the third one, this is me. Only a couple years ago did I start doing video thought leadership content for myself. I had been working with Twitch pretty much exclusively for a long time. So I became kind of invisible. So I decided to turn the camera around, and I built up my personal brand with thought leadership video content. And now, when combined with direct outreach, I built a tool in Claude Code to manage my direct outreach, and then bolstered by my thought leadership, I'm now getting qualified leads daily. So I can show you exactly how this works, and I have the inside knowledge on how that can come together. So if you want to know how to get started with this, it's probably the same as any other consulting sort of engagement. Is it starts with a conversation, and we're just going to talk about what the business goals are, what's in the way, and what do we have to work with. And then we'll just build from there based on what we learn. So if you want help, this is how you can get in touch with me to talk about that. And now I want to transition to another deck that I built earlier. It is a little bit deeper. I wasn't sure how much time we would have, but I do want to try and get into some of the stats here that I think would be helpful. So I'm going to stop share. Oh, there's Margie. Hi, Margie. Let's bring up this. There it is. Okay, now I'm going to share this one. This is an earlier version, but it's got a lot more meat on the bones. So I'm just going to flip ahead into some good stuff here. So how are people searching right now? Everywhere. And how do they search? Everywhere. But I think B2B largely has been sleeping on video. 80% of all internet traffic is video, which can be a little bit misleading, but suffice it to say, video is important and it's only getting more important. YouTube now is a major contributor to LLM training. And so I think it basically overtook Reddit in the past few months. So, how is that happening? Right now, it's great if people say good things about you, but you can also seed that marketplace with the content and fuel those conversations. So we kind of covered this part already, but the two audiences that we have now, people and LLMs, it's obvious people like video and the bots like video too, because the transcripts are how the AI is watching video right now. That may change. I think Google actually has some video watching capability now, so that could be turning around real quick like everything else. But the transcripts are still like foundational SEO type material that, because B2B has been sleeping on this, they're just not taking advantage of it. We kind of covered some of the other things, but I'm going to get into some other stats here. No, I'm not. Never mind. I took those out. Okay. I'm going to stop there. See if you guys got any questions. Anything come up in the chat?
Nothing in the chat. Yeah, go ahead, Floyd.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're sharing. I'm probably interested in depth on several of your points. Just to pick out one, could you, because this is such a urgent, crisis level problem for so many people in our trade, the contribution of video to AEO results. And you're right, it goes by several names, but I'm probably seeing AEO pull ahead in my circle. So could you talk a little bit more about how that works mechanically and how big of the effect is and whether it's likely to last going forward?
Mm-hmm. So I'm certainly not the expert on AI or LLMs. My background's in video, but just being a video expert and keeping an eye on this issue, the things that are coming up. I watched a great webinar with Trust Insights the other day. Christopher Penn has deep knowledge on this issue. I think he might have more to say on that. But the takeaways from that webinar was like, YouTube is the #1 social source of data for LLMs. And if you look at the process of how those mechanically work, I think there's like 3 different parts to that. There's like the initial training that happens, and worth noting that like those are spaced out by like years or like a year. So the stuff that you're putting out there right now is not even like part of what you're getting. So like when I talk about seeding the marketplace, I think that's kind of the idea. And it's funny you're sitting on grass right behind you. It's like, I think that now is the time to start seeding that next batch of training. And then there's the second one is what the live retrieval that happens. And then there's, I kind of forget what that third one is, but I think it's like a prioritization or context sort of phase. So suffice it to say that there's different parts to this. It's not so cut and dried. And like, we all know that if you do a search, Spark Toro, Rand Fishkin talks about like, if you do a search like 100 times, you're going to get like different results. Like it's predictive. So like, we can't clinically say if you do X, you get Y. It's just more like the tendency to feed this beast, I think is really the big idea. And if you think about the stuff that can work for the bots, doesn't need to mechanically, or it doesn't need to be aesthetically pleasing. It can just be like tactically, technically helpful. So like webinar video like this, if you just make it very narrowly focused on whatever those questions are that they're asking, like what is HubSpot versus some other CRM, and you just talk about that one thing, and you've got a video and you got a transcript. I mean, the LLMs are going to look at that and they're going to say, okay, this is exactly the right kind of information for that query, right? This is right on. It's not like gobbledygook in an hour-long webinar. It's just like this 1-2-minute video that talks about the comparisons between those two things. I think that's the sort of like opportunity, technical opportunity that's out there right now. And I don't know if that completely answered your question.
No, that was a good answer, and I'll even add a perspective. Everything you said makes great sense, and it's very helpful. Additionally, the old model and SEO continues to be important. So in the SEO world, putting content on your site is really important, and getting people to it on your site is really important because it builds up your domain authority. So then you get a virtuous circle. Good content improves your domain authority, improves the visibility of your content, and so it's worth making more content, and it spirals upward. But from right now, at least, this may change in the future. From the LLM point of view, your own website is content jail because it just discredits everything you say yourself on your own site. It looks from the outside in. So AEO will value a comment that some rando makes about you on Reddit more highly than your carefully researched and carefully written blog post about your new product that's real and that people can buy, you know? It's so frustrating. And YouTube is a great compromise. And there's some of this with Substack and so on as well. But YouTube is probably the first, what you're saying, just to support what you're saying. YouTube is the best, quickest place that if you put something there, it gets treated as if it was outside content. The LLMs love chewing through the transcript because that's exactly what they do. And then it even counts as backlinks to your site, even if you create it. I believe that this may change over time, but it is treated as backlinks to your site when you reference your site in the comments. And then people are more social on YouTube. They're much more likely to comment on a video than they ever are on anything you write, for crying out loud. So yeah, just even adding to the importance of what you're saying. And I'm seriously thinking of spending a lot more time on video right now and adding it to my skill set. I did that with public speaking years ago, and it paid off. You know, I had to leave my little cubicle closet where I was very happy and nobody bothered me, and learn to speak, which was horrible. And now I might have to do the same thing with video.
Yeah, I think it's a modern skill now that, us older people are having to adopt. Like my teenage daughters natively understand it, and so that's just a generational thing on some level. So I want to kind of touch back on a couple of things you said. I think it goes without saying that SEO basics, fundamentals still all matter, and they're actually foundational for the AEO stuff that's built on top of that. And I think the same thing with video is like video done right is all perfectly in line with that. It's feeding the LLMs, it's adding to SEO. And so, but then you get some other things as well that are really hard to do in other formats. Like I think video thought leadership is such a great opportunity because, you have all these subject matter experts out there that know this topic, whatever they're experts at, they know it. And asking them to sit down and write an article, they're too busy for that. Like, how long does it take to write a good article? When in 15 minutes, 5 minutes, they could just talk in video format about the issue of the day. And, that's a pretty low lift. You get that trust building, that public face. It's building the trust. It's a quick way to harvest the material. And then the bonus is you get that transcript, which is easily repurposed by AI in a way that doesn't end up in slop if you make it use the natural language of the transcript. So like you use that power of the formatting and the organization of AI without infusing this creative bullshit. And you're actually using the quotes out of their mouth. I mean, what a great way to harvest content. It's just kind of a no-brainer to me. And to your point about the second party status, like if someone else says something good about you, that's way better. I think it's like 75%, more weighted. The argument that I'm trying to advance is that if you want people to talk about you, if you create the content that they are consuming, then you are giving them the ability to say things about you. You're giving them the trust, the goodwill that they want to talk about the things. You're going to become a Rand Fishkin, Andy Crestodina, like these trusted people that share valuable, helpful knowledge that, it's going to get talked about. I just talked about them, right? So there's your evidence right there. So I think that I've been pushing for PR to really lean into owned media instead of this. I don't know. It's almost like a ridiculous trope that like a tech CEO decides one day they want to get the Wall Street Journal to write about them. It's like, well, you haven't done the groundwork. And what I'm talking about is the groundwork so that when that day comes, you've already got all that stuff out there. And so I think it's in the same way that like we didn't all know we needed websites until like 2000, and then all the companies went out and did that. And then they didn't know they needed SEO until like they figured it out. And now it's like a line item that has to get covered. I think video is quickly becoming that. And I think it looks a lot like a weekly, monthly video thought leadership style program that's built around pre-purposing and then is seeding that marketplace, getting the data out there for conversations, for the LLMs, like all of it. And then once you get that institutional expertise built up, you're going to naturally like expand into video case studies, other things like product videos, recruitment videos, like all those other things. And, that's, I think, really my value, and people like me that are video natives. Like I've been doing this for 30 years for big brands, National Geographic, USA Today, like Twitch. Like I have the deep roots technically and creatively. And then now as a business owner who's been marketing myself, learning how to do this myself, I've kind of like worked my way up earlier and earlier in the process that, it's just becoming screamingly obvious to me that if there isn't someone involved in that conversation about marketing and about content that's a video expert, how are they going to come up with a good video plan? There's just so much time wasting that's going to happen. Money, I just seen it time and time again. They go out and they buy the gear, and maybe they set up a studio and they realize we don't know what we're doing. So, like, I think there's going to be a lot of blood on the spreadsheets.
You mean you can't become a champion skier by buying cool looking gear?
You'll go faster for sure. Faster to your own demise. So anyway, any other questions? Or I see some stuff in the chat here.
Yeah, I was just adding some related links based on that discussion. I'm glad you shout out Rand at SparkToro. I'm a big fanboy from Moz days, and their audience research tool is amazing. I keep seeing if Amanda will come on, but if you haven't attended their office hours, look for SparkToro office hours. They do them every month, and a lot of knowledge drop there. The other thing, I was at this AEO event that Pepper put on in San Francisco 2 weeks ago, and a lot of what you're talking about resonated. They presented this top 10. They said we get the slides. I still don't have them yet to share, but I posted about it, and number 9 and 10 relate to what we're just talking about. It's all video, and I think tactically, Floyd, your instincts are correct, at least from what I was hearing. Also, one bad mention. In fact, Rand, I think, profiled something happened on Reddit where somebody slammed a competitor on Reddit, and like it just snowballed, and like it put the competitor out of business. So, to your point about comms being more a different operational model with comms PR versus just putting things on the business wire, right? To lean into that is important. So, anyway, great presentation on video too. It's making me realize I'm behind on all the things.
Well, I always say, look, I'm here to help. Like money doesn't have to change hands. We can help each other out. So let me know if you got questions. And Margie, is your hand raised? I can't tell what that means. Okay.
Yeah.
Margie.
Hi. Hi everyone. So I would echo the blood on the spreadsheet was quite the graphic right that you brought to mind. But It's funny. I first met Dane. I actually don't know how we initially met, but when I saw you were coming on this, I was excited to join. But we met because I had a client that was struggling to make video happen, right? And everyone wanted it. Everyone said it was a good idea, but no one was sort of owning it. And and it was really a process question in a sense of an ownership and a process question because we started with this is like the war story. We started with what we thought would be easy, video content that already existed from webinars. And we
Hmm.
said, okay, we got webinars. We already have video content. We just need to put it, into snippets, pick the right clips, use the right tool. Maybe even there's tools that will do the transcripts and surface suggestions from us, and then put that out on social media, linking to the webinar. And what we dug into was, well, one team's responsible for the webinar, right? Another team is responsible for creating the content and packaging it, but didn't have the right tools to do so. Didn't like how the webinar was produced, didn't like the quality, couldn't find a good clip.
Yeah.
And then when they finally did, a third person was actually responsible for packaging it in social media and putting it out on social media. And she wasn't part of the other two discussions and, didn't like the plan. So it was really interesting to talk to Dane about it because it wasn't just about the quality of the video. There were things that we could do to make the video quality better, and we have invested in a couple of those tools since then. But it was more about thinking ahead of time, right? How are we going to actually be using this, and how do we need to make sure all these people know what's going on, and that we set ourselves up for success with a better webinar quality. So we ended up switching to a different webinar platform, right? Empowering some people on the team in different ways with new tools that they didn't have before. Replacing somebody, and certain things happen to sort of make the process move smoothly, but it was actually eye-opening to me because I was like, well, we have, to your point, we have all the stuff. Why isn't this working? And there was a lot more to it than just the video aspect. So shout out to Dane and thank you for helping me out with that project.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad. Thank you for echoing and
Yeah.
reinforcing. And I think it just proves that people are people. This stuff is messy, and these organizations are complicated. It's so understandable why things would just get you know effed up. It's like nobody understands enough to know what they don't know, and so they just get stuck. And then the easiest thing to do is nothing, or just say, "Oh, this isn't good enough quality," and like then you're covered. You don't lose your job over that. So, but then you're just stuck, not moving forward. And I just think it's a shame because like there are ways to do this that can be like start small, get some wins, get people used to it, and like it is doable. And the metaphor I always use is people are too busy drowning to learn how to swim, and it's kind of sad, but I'm trying to help.
Hey, Margie, Floyd in the chat asks if you can share what webinar platform you switched to.
Yes, and I'll tell you it's early days. So we reviewed Riverside and Zoom. I was rooting for Riverside, but they chose Zoom, and we're just starting to roll that out. But I do think that the higher tier of Zoom will definitely offer better video quality. They had been using GoToWebinar, and they couldn't get it to a point where the quality was high enough that and or that they could edit, like it's how we're all in our little Brady Bunch boxes. They couldn't get this little snippet of the guy talking the way they wanted it to. But we had to wait months until their contract was, this is, an enterprise, till the contract was up, till we could finally switch. So
Yeah.
frustrating for those of us that want to move faster, but that's where we ended up doing.
Yeah, I think you're running into like a pre-purposing or repurposing problem there.
Yeah.
I call this the Swiss Army knife problem. Is like, Swiss Army knife does a lot of different jobs, but it doesn't do any of them particularly well. So when you take like a webinar and then you try and repurpose it to something else and cut out the little squares, it's like you're trying to like unscramble the omelet, and it's just never going to go as well as if you make something purpose built. And there are ways to make a plan so that it's still low lift and you still get the outputs that you want, but without trying to like, re-engineer it afterwards in a broken way. So I don't know, plans, they're good.
Hey, Dean, you you had mentioned your thought leadership program or personal branding program using video. Were you
Mhm.
planning to get more into that? Because that sounds interesting to hear
Yeah,
more.
let's talk about it. So
Okay.
so it all started with the idea of me wanting to turn the camera around. And so, I think starting there is really important because a lot of people are sort of starting from the beginning. Like they don't want to be on camera. I hear that all the time. So, and like, you don't want to go to the dentist either, right? But you do it because you know it's good for you. And so I think it actually hurts less than going to the dentist doing being on camera. And, I always say like nothing bad will happen, and like, let's acknowledge that being on camera is difficult, but it's also polarizing, and that's a good thing. And what I mean is that if you put your real self out there, the people that like you, that agree with what you're saying, your thought leadership, your expertise, that's going to make those people like you more. And the people that don't like your vibe, or you're not for them, well, let's get to that decision sooner. That's actually kind of a good thing, even though it doesn't always feel great. But like, I think it's a good thing to be polarizing like that. So just acknowledging that. And then I always talk about, there's been 3 revolutions in marketing: the AI revolution, there's a video revolution, and a business culture revolution. And they kind of all come together in video thought leadership. And the point I'm trying to make is that we're now doing web video, and this is professional, right? You see a lot of people like the CEO of Hootsuite, who actually she just changed jobs or whatever, but she was for a long time doing social media content with her phone. And you see people walking down the street sharing thought leadership with their phone. I've even seen a fintech guy. He goes on runs at night and he's talking on his phone. He's talking about stuff. It's like, that is professional content now. Like the bar has gotten so low that this is fine as long as what I'm saying is valuable, is original, authentic content. That there's a lane for that now that did not exist pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, everything had to be glossy and polished and professional, and we still have that. That lane still exists and it's still important, but we have this other lane now. So like, there's a place for all of it. And I think that what that does is that opens the door for thought leadership at scale, at low cost. And so for me, I experimented with different formats. Margie, I think I had you on my podcast, was like one of the first formats that I was experimenting with. And my big idea there was hey, let's just interview content marketers, and I'll get some visibility, they'll get some visibility, I'll learn, and then I can ask them these set questions. And then if I ask them the same questions every time, then I can make montages of, hey, here's 10 marketers answering question number 1. And that becomes like its own valuable content. So like, I started to experimenting with plans that were going to be low lift for me and kind of worked for my unique situation. And I started figuring out, hey, do I need to make these fancy edits on my social media clips to make people watch them? And like, you can do that. That's one way to go. But then I realized, as long as I'm sharing insights, I can just do this unedited. And that's a lot easier, a lot faster. So I just cut the head and the tail off it. And so one 15-minute interview becomes a bunch of different shorts. You put that stuff out there on a regular basis, support that with some sort of other marketing materials, and the people that come across you, you're top of mind. You get that visibility, you get that trust. They get to know you in a one-sided relationship. Like if we sat and had coffee together, we're interacting. But in video format, obviously I'm talking at you and you might comment or whatever, or reach out. But for the most part, it's kind of one-sided. But that's okay. They're still connecting with you. They're getting to know you, your vibe, understanding where you're coming from. Like I've never met Rand before, but if I met him, I feel like I already know him. And I started seeing that happen for me. It took a couple months, but maybe after 2-3 months, people that when I got on a call with them, they'd be like, "Oh, I feel like I already know you."
Mhm.
And so it started dawning on me that what we're doing is we're shortening the sales cycle. We're building up trust before we get on the phone, right? Before we get on a call. And so I think that's really valuable. And So what that looked like over time is, the algorithm obviously changes all the time. LinkedIn had a TikTok moment where they really rewarded video like crazy, and so there was a period where I was getting lots of views and all that, but it was just vanity metrics or whatever. But I think what's happening now is as the algorithm seems to be favoring people who stay in their topic lane, like you pick your topic points, and now that I'm sticking to that, I've seen my reach go down, but like profile views go up. And so like I'm getting more and more known publicly for what I do. And so I think I'm becoming a thought leader. And I think taken to the furthest possible outcome, like I'm just doing speeches and writing books or something, like that's how that would end up. And like if you took it to that far, I don't know how far it'll go, but like in the short term, it's set me up to be as a thought leader, have that seat at the table in the decision making process rather than being an order taker for making videos. So like I think it was a necessary marketing channel or tactic to have if I'm going to start selling video strategy. So I'm basically giving out free samples of my knowledge. They're getting a try before you buy. Do I like what this guy's got to say? Is he for real? And as far as like the ROI, it's basically free. I use a webcam. Like I already have all this stuff, but I put it back there because I think this tells a story, right? People see these cameras behind me and they're like, oh, this guy must really know what he's talking about. And so this is an intentional, investment of time or, setup. This looks official, got a little splash of color back there. So like there's incremental things you can do. You start at that baby step place and you just build up the things that feel like they're going to be doable, start to give you a little bit more bang for your buck. So, I hope that rounds out my journey for you. Let me know if you got specific questions and I can circle back. Boy, I can talk.
No, I was just, I've been experimenting, it takes some guts to put some stuff out there and not like how you look and do it anyway, but I wonder, I'm sure that there's stats on this, but for people that are salespeople, right? Even those of us who are, consultants or fractional people who are selling our wares aren't really, professional salespeople. But I wonder to what degree sellers for, software companies or some of, enterprise sellers are using video in their sales outreach through LinkedIn, or even just sending like a little Loom video of something and putting a face to it instead of sending an email or another direct message, and if that is actually moving the needle on getting them the next meeting.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all over the map, like standard distribution kind of stuff. Like, I kind of believe that everything works if you do it right. There's like these tactics are all like viable, and I'm sure that these people sell in different ways. I think just it's so tempting as marketers, and we live in this AI age where everything is like stats and data driven and all that. But like, if you just step away from that and just think intuitively about it, like if you saw someone on camera, like, wouldn't you just naturally feel more familiar with them? Like, I don't know. It's worth just taking a sidestep into that territory as well. It's like you can't always measurement is so hard now, and you have this complicated buyer journey that takes place on different platforms and then like over time, like how would you really measure that? Let's just ask ourselves, is it reasonable that with a little bit of video content that they would feel a little bit like closer to talking to you? Probably. So anyway.
If I can just add one more point, I think video might be reaching the point too where, some people just learn better during video, or you can get in the habit of using a certain medium as your primary way into different things. I used to be all reading. I would ignore video like purposefully, and now I use it a lot. So if I can change, well, I'm sure lots of other people are too. So it gets to the point now, and probably reaching this point with video, Well, if you don't have a video representation, it hurts you. Even, of course, it helps you to have it, but it might also hurt you not to have it. So maybe
Yeah.
FOMO will get more people to do this on top of the advantages.
Yeah, I think there's a couple hurdles there. One is the sort of stereotype that, oh, it's not good enough. Like it has to be perfect quality to be out there. And I think that certainly can be true, but I think a lot of times it's not, and people kind of think that it is. Or there's this question about like, is this okay? Is this good enough? Like, is my background okay? Is my lighting okay? My sound? Like, am I, like a lot of people in business have this persona they want to put out there, like I'm a professional, whatever. But like a lot of people work from home in their t-shirts, and like the line is so blurry now that like we're still kind of getting used to that. Maybe even especially our older generations is like what's okay. And another point I wanted to just kind of circle back on is video seems to be thought of in very narrow terms about when to use it. And it's just, to me, it's like text. Like, how can you use text for business? Well, you can talk, you can write, you can read. It's the same sort of thing. It's like there's a lot of different ways you can use video you're probably not realizing, and probably like, stopping it before it gets going because you're hung up on this idea of it being expensive and hard and needing to be polished. And so, I don't know. There's a big rethink I think that needs to happen, and hopefully I'm helping.
I just dropped a link. You mentioned measurement. I think some of you have seen the Robert Rose. It's a 4-post series. I dropped the link to the first post on, well, how do we measure content now? And it all kind of come back to trust.
Great.
I've only read the first. I realized he dropped 3 more, but time flies. And then the other thing I'll say for Bay Area peeps, we'll do another in-person networking. Floyd can attest to that value. Late June, and Dennis might join us from Chicago. But a lot of great discussion. Has me thinking we could do AEO related meetup prezos till the cows come home. It's changing all the time. What works? How do we know? This has been really instructive too, because what you've talked about on video was what I was hearing at the Pepper event 2 weeks ago. And
Good.
Anyway,
I'm not making it up. That's great.
Yeah. Hi, James.
Hello.
Did you have a question or comment for Dane today?
Well, just I was in another event, and so I just got on a line here. Are we going to?
Oh, okay. You'll get the replay too. Dennis usually puts this on YouTube. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Any other comments or questions for Dane? All right, Dane. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
A great topic, and best wishes with your personal branding and your video work with clients.
Thank you.
So we don't have anything left on the calendar, but that'll change soon. So stay tuned to our meetup page for some more Zoom events coming up, as well as that in-person that Rich mentioned in June.
I might actually, because I hate to have the empty calendar.
Yeah.
I'll put this out there. I did a recap of the 10 things that Pepper presented. So I'd be presenting what they presented, but I hate not having anything on the calendar. So we're always looking for presenters. You all have expertise. Some of you have presented multiple times. That's my keep awake right now.
My one comment is that I have never, ever seen anything as helpful as you guys are. It's just, it's just profound. There's so much noise out there, and there's not nearly enough incredible, content-rich stuff, and you guys always deliver that. So I tell everybody, if you're not tuning into this, you're missing valuable info.
Oh wow, great testimonial. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you, James.
Hats off to Dennis, because when the pandemic hit and we shifted to the Zoom model, how many have we recorded now, Dennis, on your YouTube playlist? It's approaching 200, isn't it?
It's approaching 200, yes.
Nice.
So it's fun I'll drop a link here, you guys, because James, I know you joined late. You can always watch the replays.
Super. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I have some potential folks that might be good speakers that I've met over the last few months. I'll shoot them your way, make an intro.
That'd be
That's
great.
good.
Yeah.
Are you still pasting the link?
I'm looking for the. Do you have the link handy, Dennis?
I didn't want to close up the.
Can you pay? Do you have it?
I want to go to San Francisco in June.
Come to San Francisco in June. It's a write-off.
It's all right.
Bring a jacket.
Like, are you Schitt's Creek fans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right. Well, who's paying for it? Nobody. It's a write-off.
That's a great clip. That's a great clip. I'm fumbling with it. Dennis, did you already paste it?
It's in the chat, the playlist.
There it is.
Yeah.
And that'll tell us the number. Oh, it's in reverse order. How many? 160? 148. This was 149. Is that right?
Okay.
I think
so. All right. Thanks, everyone. We will see you at the next meetup.
Thank you. Thank you, Dane, Dennis, everybody.
Thanks, Dane.
Bye.
Talk soon.
God bless. Bye-bye.